Salute, salute everyone. Welcome to the show. How's everybody doing? Great to be with you. Salute to Knicks Nation. Salute to the chat. How we feeling? CT with you here to talk about the New York Knicks, of course, but Team USA handled their business last night against Puerto Rico in their showcase warm-up game. We'll talk about that. How did Jalen Brunson look? Josh Hart didn't play. We'll talk about the FIBA World Cup coming up. RJ Barrett preparing with Team Canada also. And two teams to watch coming up. And Knicks have continuity coming into the season. I want to dive into that as my first major talking point heading into this season, talking about the East Power rankings, right? And just how much is it going to help the New York Knicks coming into this season with continuity? We know the East, there's still a lot to happen in this offseason, but I feel like there's going to be, a lot more movement to come, especially on the Philadelphia side of things, the Miami Heat side of things as well. So we'll dive into it. The Knicks made a couple of, small moves, welcoming in some camp invites. Skapin Sev from the Summer League, which I predicted. I felt he looked good enough to earn a camp invite. The Knicks also signed Obadiah Noel, a player from their Westchester team, to another camp invite. So those were some minor moves to happen since we last spoke. But yeah, Team USA handled their business. We'll talk about that. And of course, the New York Knicks and the continuity, right, coming in. How's everybody feeling? Salute to the chat. Salute replay gang. How have you been? What did you think of last night's performance? Did anyone catch it? It was a late game, 10 p.m. Eastern time. So everyone on the East Coast, I don't blame you for not checking it out. But yeah, the team looked good. We'll dive into it, and then we'll talk about the Knicks as well throughout the episode. But tonight, welcome in. Good to be with you. Jalen Brunson got the start. Steve Kerr, the coach, has been glowing in his accolades of Jalen Brunson as a leader, and trusting him to run this team. Team with a lot of expectations. Team USA always has expectations coming in. This ain't the Olympics, but it's the FIBA World Cup still, and the Team USA are coming in as the favorites. So what did I see from last night's performance? And just getting into the whole squad, as a whole, I think it's a really, really good squad with a really good balance of players. And I like what I've seen so far. And I really think that it's going to, create some problems for a lot of teams. It's built well for the FIBA game. Jalen Brunson got the start alongside Anthony Edwards, Mikal Bridges, some dogs, and Brandon Ingram at the 4, Jaren Jackson Jr. at the 5. So really good length, versatility, floor spacing, all of those things. What stood out to me as Team USA pulled out a huge victory in the second half, dominated. The first half was close. Puerto Rico got out to a really good start, hang tight for probably a quarter or two. But Team USA ran away with the victory in the second half through pace, ball movement. The chemistry seemed pretty good for a first hit out. But the defense was dynamic. You'll see a lot of athletic blocks, man. Jaren Jackson Jr. is no joke. They're Brandon Ingram with them huge swat there. But yeah, the fast break points, ball movement was key. And they've got plenty of time, to build chemistry. So yeah, some showcase games coming up versus Slovenia, Puerto Rico. Just finished Puerto Rico, Spain, and Luka or Slovenia up next as they fly to Spain. Then they'll play Spain after Luka. Luka went off against Montenegro, had 34 points, double-digit rebounds as well. As we know, he's the go-to guy. So that's going to be a really great test, I think, coming up for Team USA. Then they'll play Greece. Giannis Antetokounmpo still on the fence in terms of whether he's going to play or not, recovering from knee surgery. So I don't think Giannis is going to end up playing in this tournament. But if he does, it's going to be good for the competition. Then Germany to round out the preparations. Team USA coming in playing New Zealand in their group in their first game, I believe. But yeah, last night the Jalen Brunson led the team in rebounds with 12 rebounds, which was really, really solid. Good to see from Jalen Brunson. Only played 20-something minutes, 22 minutes. The FIBA quarters are shorter quarters as well. So we know that that's going to be a situation where they're probably going to rotate the minutes a heck of a lot. But missed his four 3-point attempts though, but got to the line like he usually does. JB living in the paint, 5 of 6 from the free throw line. But like I said, 12 rebounds. Jalen Brunson's still a dog, always will be a dog. Hunts those rebounds. Yeah, and FIBA game is different, as we know. Rules are different. You can swat the ball off the rim, but the quarters are shorter, so the pace is up. Teams running the break real quick, up and down. Look for these guards to get rebounds. The guards, I think, will get a lot of rebounds because there's going to be a lot of transition buckets, and you got to rotate these minutes so that players are getting enough rest, right? So you can run at a frenetic pace. And I think Team USA shared the load last night. Bridges with 14 points, Ant-Man with 15 points, also, and Brunson with 11. But 23 in the plus minus was at 23 plus. Jalen Brunson and Tyrese Halliburton were the two best players on the floor in terms of the plus. Unselfish. Salute Prometheus, Knicks won. Sherwin, how we feeling after this? Worldwide, absolutely. Yep. We'll talk about two teams that I think outside of the USA, and I think in the betting odds, are the next two teams to look out for. There's some dark horses, obviously, with Slovenia, with Luka. They're not included. If Giannis plays for Greece, they're going to be a nice threat. France, Spain, always a threat. But these two other teams are not inclusive of those. And I think they're the two next best teams to look out for. We'll talk about that. And we'll continue to talk about the New York Knicks expectations coming in with a key storyline of continuity. We got Hart playing with Brunson in this off-season. We got Barrett playing, significant competition. This ain't no warm-up joke. This is World Championships, World Cup. So these guys are going to get heavy minutes, and they're going to get a great opportunity to, work on some things that they've done in the summer, and work on their, their games. Basically, I think shooting is going to be a key thing I'm looking out for Canada and RJ Barrett. He's been putting in work. He always does, with his coach Drew Hanlon. And let's see, he's going to play a key role for Canada. Is RJ Barrett. And I'm really looking forward to these games, coming up. It's a treat for us fans because we normally don't get much ball. We don't get any ball this time of year. Free agency's absolute dead right now. It's at a standstill due to the Harden and Dame Lillard situations. Some teams with some money still to spend are unable to make any moves yet with these big impending bombs ready to drop. PJ Washington still available. Christian Wood still waiting on a team as well. What's good, Dermot? With that said, I think Jalen Brunson, leading his country, right? This speaks so much to the New York Knicks' future, the bright future we have, because Jalen Brunson is a leader, and it's going to be a big tournament for him as well. Playing alongside this talent, it speaks for itself. Playing alongside a two-guard like Ant Edwards, bigs, versatile bigs like Jaren Jackson, Brandon Ingram. Really going to look forward to seeing Brunson get these guys involved. Not even be the lead scorer on this team. really, but just make life easier for everyone else out on the court. The bench is dynamic too. Cam Johnson, Austin Reeves, Bobby Portis, Banchero coming in. Banchero looked great. He was really physical getting to the cup as well. He got to the line 4 times, missed 3 of them. Bobby Portis got to the line 4 times as well. But yeah, first warm up, Puerto Rico were without Jose Alvarado, one of their biggest names. He's sitting due to injury. I don't think he's going to partake in the World Cup. But we know, these New York Knicks will. Josh Hart sitting out due to rest. Maybe, there is, hopefully nothing really to worry about. But I think he's just, being brought along slowly, maybe dealing with some, some conditioning or some injury, minor injury things. But Josh Hart is eligible to be extended with the New York Knicks this month. So that's going to come. That's going to drop very soon. We'll look out and we'll break that down when that happens. But yeah, I don't think Josh Hart is going to play a bigger role with this team, right, as that role player. But interestingly, the squad was, asked to vote which Team USA player was they felt the best player so far in camp. Ant Edwards voted Josh Hart coming in. Said consistency, knows what what you're going to get from him. You know what he brings, which was great to see. And in this FIBA situation for the New York Knicks players, it's just great to have them, networking and recruiting and mingling, building relationships with, future stars in the league, current and future stars, because this squad is, I mentioned I like it. I think it's really good for the future because there's solid young players that are going to be part of probably the next phase of the World Cup and the next Olympics, not just next year alone. You got Reeves, you got Banchero, you got Mikal Bridges, you got Anthony Edwards, Brunson. These guys could definitely be part of the next cycle. So I think that's really huge. But yeah, Brunson went 3 of 8. I mentioned the 12 rebounds, got 1 block, turned it over twice. But yeah, 11 points, team high, 23, moving the break strong. It was great to see JB get in and lead the team first up. I mentioned these warm-up games, right? Really, really good competition. Luka with Slovenia, and then Spain. So 2 really experienced teams. Slovenia suffered a bad injury to one of their stars. So unfortunately, prayers up to him. He tore his ACL. I think it's cancer. He's not going to be able to play. But with Lucas playing, it's going to be a box office to still see that situation. Spain, not as strong as they used to be. Obviously, they got the Hernan Gomez brothers. They're not in the NBA anymore. Ricky Rubio, I think recently, prayers up to him, decided to take a break due to mental health. But, Spain has still got, quality players, familiar with one another. They're bringing chemistry as well. And then, Greece, I mentioned as well. But, the Team USA are the clear favorite for me with this squad. There's really no egos. The ball movement was really good, I think, last night. Fast break points, got up and down. 417 turnovers for Puerto Rico, 10 blocks, 10 steals. The 29 assists was awesome to see over the 14 for Puerto Rico. And of course, doubled them in rebounds with 66 rebounds. Now, the 3-point shooting was not good, 6 of 27, maybe getting used to the line. The line is, shorter. But I don't think this team doesn't have the best 3-point snipers. I think they're great in terms of the fast break, athleticism, finishing at the cup, and all those things. I think that's going to be key for this team. And like I said, just rotating everybody through. But, don't worry, Jalen Brunson's going to get this team going. He's the engine. He had a nice couple of skip passes, getting up and down. But yeah, great pick and roll there. Jaren Jackson Jr. is just a treat. I would love to see him on the New York Knicks one day. And Knicks one today is on the money. Yep. Father has connections to Westchester. Anthony Edwards, long, long way away, but he's a player that, I think any team, any fan would love to have. He's a bright star coming up. Yeah, crazy block there, athleticism all day with this team. Like I said, Puerto Rico, they hustled, they scrapped, they clawed. For their first game as well, I think they're going to build more chemistry. They got shooters, and they started pretty strong. But Team USA got into their groove, right, and dominated. I'm cool with Brunson playing 22 minutes as well, 25 minutes as well. Remember, this is a cup tournament. All you need to do is ease your way through the group phase. Then the real games begin in the knockout phase. I think Team USA can cruise through their group, and it's a pretty, it's a pretty smooth group pathway for them to get through to the knockout round. Right, share these minutes around, get everyone involved with some chemistry, and then I think, yeah, they're going to be real dangerous. Nick said New York could make a play for Mikal Bridges and CJ in trade 2 off seasons before their contracts expire. Yeah, it's a long ways to think about, but yeah, these are the players you would love to target, if and when they're available, 100%. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Brooklyn, whether they keep Mikal for the long haul and build around him or build with him. Outside of that, I think it's still ways away. But RJ Barrett's coming in. He's putting in huge workouts with his off-season trainer Drew Hanlon, and like I mentioned, a huge summer to be part of Team Canada's program. It's really, really big. As I bring up, two teams on screen now that I think, outside of the Team USA, are the next 2 best teams to look out for in terms of, I would say, talent. Chemistry, it's hard to say right now because I don't really follow Spain a lot recently. I don't follow Slovenia. We know France is bringing in a lot of chemistry, and they're definitely in the top 4. But for me, the second team with talent is Team Canada. SGA, Jamal Murray, RJ Barrett, of course, Dwight Powell, and Kelly Olynyk coming in here. 5 NBA guys that have not played as much together. There's been a lot of interruptions for Team Canada recently, underachievement. But this is the first real tournament, first real year that it's coming. It looks like their talent is all coming together now, and there's going to be a pressure on them. But let's see. Obviously, with the reserves, they've got coming off the bench Lou Dort, and they've got the dog from Memphis, of course. Formerly Memphis, now Houston. So that's a really, really, really good squad. They're going to test any team. With that said, SGA could be a sneaky bet, or it could be a good bet for the MVP of the tournament. With that said, Jamal Murray, there are some rumors today, unconfirmed, that he's still considering whether he's going to partake in the tournament. That would be huge if something changes. With that said, RJ Barrett, if he's in the starting lineup, would be excellent. Andrew Wiggins withdrew. So to me, that opened the door for RJ Barrett to come in here and play a huge role for Team Canada. Also have a pretty smooth group, and I expect them to get through. Look, even if Murray doesn't play, they're still formidable. They're still going to be tough to beat. So that's going to be a really, really good clash if the USA and Canada end up meeting in the knockout rounds. My third team to watch is a team I'm more familiar with, Australia. Some of you may not have understood the squad. Australia's been obviously got a lot of talent in the NBA. Finished with the bronze medal in the last Olympics. This is the first real year that they're welcoming in Josh Giddey, the up-and-coming rising star of the league, running the point, 6'8". The veteran Patty Mills comes in. He's going to fill it up. They're also welcoming Josh Green from Dallas, a young wing coming up. He's coming into his I think third or fourth season in the league. Formerly the 16th overall draft pick. He's improved defensively. His game's maturing offensively too. Joe Ingles, the veteran, he'll probably play the stretch four. And Jock Landale, the center from Houston as well. They've got Dante Exum, who's back in the league for Dallas now. Won the Euro Cup with Partizan in Europe. Dyson Daniels, the second-year player coming in from the Pelicans. Matisse Thybulle, Xavier Cooks, possibly Jack White. Those guys are with NBA clubs as well. So yeah, Australia's got basically an NBA rotation, pretty much like Canada, like France. I think these are going to be the teams to look out for, coming in with some experience, some veterans as well. And Australia finishing with the bronze. I think that's going to help them a lot in terms of their chemistry. Look forward to seeing what Team USA continue to do in these warm-up games. You can catch them on, a lot of them are on Fox. You can also catch these other countries for free on the FIBA app as well. These warm-up games are going to be available for free on the FIBA app to stream before the tournament commences. So yeah, that's great to see. And in terms of the New York Knicks, and what I wanted to talk about also tonight is our continuity coming in. How much is it going to help us this season? And with the Eastern Conference movements to come, with the Heat, the Sixers, the other teams as well. Atlanta made some changes. Cleveland even made some changes as well. So we spoke to Howard Beck about it. He had the Knicks, in that 4th to 5th slot. He classified it as the 3rd tier of the East, with Miami and Philly in kind of a 2nd tier of their own. Now for me, I had them, basically, I put my tiers in two. I put my tiers into two, and I think the Knicks fit into that 2nd tier. As we talked about in a show previously, as of July 27, I had the Knicks currently in the 3rd slot in our power rankings. Damian Lillard, if he goes to the Heat, then common sense would have the Heat probably up to that 3rd spot. But that goes back to the question I want to talk about, which is continuity. Because we know, we've seen it before, not everything on paper means, a team is going to rise up and ascend, right? We know it takes time. The regular season is a different animal. The playoffs are a different animal. For me, Tom Thibodeau coming in, we know how much he prioritizes the regular season, right? He did it last year. He scrapped Evan Fournier early on in the piece for defense. Deuce McBride came in, gave this team a huge boost defensively, got scrappy, reduced the rotation down to 9. And that catapulted the Knicks season to big things. So, yeah, Tibbs values the regular season a lot. And I think the Knicks are coming in with probably the least amount of changes, probably except for like a Milwaukee. Possibly the Golden State Warriors, who only really made the minor moves of CP3 and Jordan Poole. But the Knicks, one of the teams in the league that are bringing in the least amount of changes. And I think that's going to help the Knicks get off to a really, really fast start, a really good start, especially with these guys playing FIBA. big pieces of the team playing off-season ball, being really, really active in the off-season. Coming in, I think the consistency is going to help the Knicks a tremendous amount. And I think the New York Knicks will get off to a hot start. There's already chemistry between Donte DiVincenzo and Josh Hart and Brunson. So it's funny, the lone piece that they're kind of bringing in has already played with two of the team's biggest pieces. So that's something huge, huge to look out for. Yeah, and I do think it's going to help the New York Knicks a huge amount, right? Obviously, we've talked a little bit about the rotation as well. The minutes aren't going to change a lot. Emmanuel Quickley, it's going to probably be around that 20-minute range. Donte DiVincenzo, coming off a season where he played 26 with the Warriors. However, with that said, without a proper backup four at the moment, we know at the moment it looks like Josh Hart is going to be the backup four alongside maybe RJ Barrett. So that does give a window of opportunity for DiVincenzo to play the backup 2 and the 3 as well. Josh Hart can slot in at that 4. I do think the Knicks will still sign a veteran at the backup 4 spot, but we wait to see. We wait to see who that is. I think that's probably tied to an Evan Fournier trade. It's difficult to make that right now. All the executives are on holiday. All the team brass are away. Evan Fournier is obviously playing with FIBA. Guys we've talked about like JaMychal Green, Gorgui Dieng, solid, end of the rotation bigs, backup big men. I would think Tom Thibodeau would prefer someone like them over an Isaiah Roby, Josh Hart, reduced minutes at the backup 4. I don't think it's a huge priority for the team. I think they're going to wait all the way till a player that they like is available. That might mean someone who was cut from one of these other teams. Like I said, the more money that gets used up, some of these talented players end up with no roster spot, and they're forced to sign with the minimum on a team as well. So look out for that. I think Kelly Oubre is still a player that, would think would get a decent deal somewhere. He hasn't found a home yet at all. So I think the Knicks are ranked 3rd in my power rankings as of this moment. There's a debate about it in terms of if you want to talk about Philly and the Heat right now. I just think as of this moment, there's too much in flux. The Heat have lost some depth, and so have Philadelphia. The Heat lost Strauss, Gabe Vincent. Those guys were huge in the playoffs. We know Kyle Lowry kind of looked old in the regular season. Let's be real. He looked great in the playoffs, helped them. Kevin Love also looked pretty old in the regular season. There's a reason why Cleveland, kind of waived him. There's a reason why there was a lot of rumors about trading Kyle Lowry in the regular season. Jimmy Butler is another year older as well. A lot of mileage on those tires as well, going all the way to the NBA Finals. So did the Miami Heat start the season with a hangover, possibly, feeling the loss of some of that depth? But the New York Knicks, made a solid addition. Bench player Donte DiVincenzo, but can close games out. Can certainly step in if there's an injury, knock on wood. The New York Knicks are stacked in terms of depth, right? Be hard pressed finding a better 10-man rotation in the league, right? Not starting 5, but just full rotation of players. We've seen it in sample sizes. Isaiah Hartenstein is a big man that can give you starting quality minutes if you need. We know Emmanuel Quickley stepped in and looked like a real starter when Brunson missed time. So he's a guy we can depend upon. Just a heap of guys we can depend upon. And I think that's going to help the New York Knicks get out to a great start. Obviously, teams have improved in the East. but teams that I still feel are below the New York Knicks, talking about the Indianas, talking about Orlando's, they're on the come up, but they're not where the New York Knicks are at this stage. Yeah, an Evan Fournier trade, just talking about that, I don't think it's a huge priority right now. Again, it's a tricky situation because the New York Knicks would love to keep Evan Fournier's salary for a bigger deal, I feel. And he's not that kind of guy. Like, he may have looked upset, he was upset, but he's a veteran in this league. He's never shown himself to be toxic or, there's been nothing to suggest Evan's going to be, cause a fuss. He's obviously going to be frustrated, but there's no reason the New York Knicks should just trade him um, and lose out. Basically, it should be a trade that helps the team. That's either getting back another expiring salary or just sitting him out if and when that bigger deal does become available. Salute Dirty Dancer. What's good? Yeah, as we mentioned at the top of the show, maybe one of the reasons Josh Hart has not been in action yet is he's sitting out due to rest. But we know financially, the business side of the thing, contractually, he's due for this extension, which could drop any minute. Officially, yeah, the deadline has come up. Fam, appreciate you for also mentioning it. And we wait to see the number. Reports from Steph Bondi, New York Daily News, possibly around the 75 milli. With the league landscape, I'm more than fine with that. Remember, he's a great player for our regular season. Able to help us defend in the playoffs. People always look at the shortcomings. The shooting offensively can't really create shots a lot. That's why we brought in a DiVincenzo. I think Josh Hart can really step in now and focus on his role, being that junkyard dog, rebounding, pushing the break, being pesky, one of the best rebounding guards in the NBA. And let's not underestimate one of the reasons why I think the Knicks will get off to a great start again is because we look like one of the best regular season teams when Josh Hart became a New York Knick as well. Imagine how he's going to feel with all the financial situation out of the way now. He's no longer a free agent. He's extended. He's had 2 kids now recently. Him and his family love New York. He can finally just focus, get down to business with Team USA and for the New York Knicks. So that's amazing. I'll be surprised if it's 24 minutes. We went through the minutes crunch. Tom Thibodeau, probably if I had to vote, who is Tom Thibodeau's top 3 favorite players on this team? I think Josh Hart would fit in somewhere. I don't know where, but maybe in the top 3 players on this team. He lobbied Leon to make this deal, make it happen. It's a marriage consummated now. Not only did we trade, he opted in, we extended soon. I think Josh Hart is a part of the future here, and people just have to get used to it. We could hopefully bring in more shooting, more size in the future, but as of now, you see guys like Duncan Robinson, you see guys like Tim Hardaway Jr. in the league, Buddy Hield. There's so many guys on that level earning 18 million as well. Some of them not even giving Josh Hart's production. So that's huge too. I always mention it's not Josh Hart's fault what he gets paid. It's how the New York Knicks use him and what they decide to pay him as well. A player always gets paid what they're worth, what their market dictates. Right? If the New York Knicks don't give Josh Hart 17 million or 18 million, best believe another team is going to do that. Some other team's going to do that. The salaries are just going up like crazy right now. And you can't exactly say his play didn't deserve a pay rise as well. He's always been a role player in the league, but he helped the team win. That's important in the eyes of executives. A winning player. There's journeymen that travel around just because of their salary, and there's journeymen that travel around the league because they're useful. That's my opinion. There's two different types of journeyman. People say, oh, he's a journeyman. There's two types of journeymans at the moment. For example, a player like Paddy Mills right now got traded to four teams in a week. He's at the late stage of his career. He's a true journeyman right now. Was traded a lot because of his expiring contract. Teams don't really have a use for him right now. Josh Hart gets traded because a team wants to use him in their rotation as well. Maybe that journeyman label stops right now as part of the New York Knicks. Let's see. I don't know if he plays a big role with the FIBA. But I don't think it's going to affect anything with the New York Knicks, right? He's going to be a big part of this thing. Salute Trini, what's good? Dirty says, like having two non-shooter in Walker and Hart is risky. Yep. Yeah, definitely. The cap goes up, as you also point out, $5 million every year. The Hart deal gets better over time. Yeah, things also even out because, Mitchell Robinson is going to be earning $12 million in 2 seasons from now, which is hard to comprehend. Crazy at the moment. Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, Jalen Brunson, we're saving money there as well. To me, it's not so much what one individual gets paid, it's also what the whole payroll is. For the New York Knicks to have a squad this deep and not have one player in the top 50 in the NBA in salary, as also noted by Steph Bondy of the Daily News. So no guy in the top 50 in salary. Also, for us to have a squad this deep and not reach the tax apron is also really solid too. Proof is going to be in the pudding for the New York Knicks getting off to that great start. I do think it's going to be key, and it's going to happen. Because no one really wants to note continuity a lot, right? It's not a sexy label. It's not something you can market a lot. Oh yeah, we're bringing everyone back, kind of thing with a minor upgrade. It's not going to win the back pages, and which is fair enough. But I mentioned like the Heat. If they welcome in Dame, that's going to steal the headlines. But losing Vincent, losing Strauss, big time playoff performers, that's not going to take any headlines. But I think that's really valuable coming in. Players that buy into their role is another thing. We talked about Team USA. Why I think they look really strong this time around is because you don't really have your, higher echelon NBA stars yet on this team. Jalen Brunson's unselfish. Anthony Edwards is going to be the scorer. He knows his role. Tyrese is going to get people involved. I think Jaren Jackson and Brandon Ingram are going to eat. So that's an example. But with the Knicks, guys know their role. Julius and Brunson are our scorers with Barrett. Also, we've got finishers. We know, who to put the ball, in whose hands late in game. We know who's going to be like defensive stoppers when we need it with our Deuce McBrides, our Quentin Grimeses, our Josh Harts, Mitches as well. Yeah, and we got 3 guys capable of taking over, scoring late in games with RJ, with Randall and Brunson as well. Obviously, playoffs are the most important thing for me, right? I'm expecting another 47 to 48 win total. So that coming up, we'll do our full predictions and our outlooks for the season. Last season, I predicted 45 wins, and we ended up exceeding that with 47. This year, I'm going 47, 48. Hopefully, we exceed it by 2 again, and we win 50. But the start's going to be critical. A lot of these matchups are all against the East teams, like obviously, in the season. there's going to be that in-season tournament as well, which people have forgotten about. We'll talk about that. But yeah, the off season's pretty dead right now, and the New York Knicks are coming in with that continuity. Let's also include the playoff experience that these younger players are coming in with. Quickly had a down playoffs. Unfortunately, the injury derailed that. But Quentin Grimes had some big moments, stopping Jimmy Butler. RJ Barrett had some incredible games as well. These guys now have I would hope, an understanding of what the real difference is between playoffs and regular season. Is the intensity goes up, the defense, you have less time to get your shot off. Um, you know, Importance of closing out quarters, closing out the half strong, not losing momentum, all of that stuff. Yep. What's good, killer dogs? Salute. Yeah, Team USA, the Knicks both got up and coming bucks. Yeah, happy to welcome in what you think might regress as well, because we did, nail a lot of things last season in terms of Julius being an All-NBA All-Star. Dirty says I worry about regression from Randall, possibly. Would be happy with 45 wins. Yeah, it also depends on what seeding 45 wins can get you as well. If it can get you the 5th seed, then that's still fine for me. If it gets you the 6th seed, I'm a little bit more worried about a matchup. But I would expect the Knicks to finish 5th and above. With that said, with Randall, we could deal with some regression from Randall. Let's say with a usual bump in production from Barrett and from Grimes in the starting unit. I think DiVincenzo adds more than enough off the bench. With that said, but yeah, I think we could deal with a little bit of regression from Randall. Obviously, regression could be he misses some games too. Let's not forget he was so healthy. We kind of come to expect Randall to play 80 games, 78, 82. Let's hope that continues. Yeah, Killer says if the FIBA team doesn't win it, they'll come back with the superstars next time. Yep. There'll be a little bit of an overhaul. Absolutely. I think with that said, this team's got really good chemistry, but they're going to be tested. Make no mistake about it. They are still rightfully favorites. But anyone that knows ball knows, you need a bit of chemistry. You need to be able to play together a bit more. You need to be able to gel. They've got a couple of young stars and a couple of rising stars, but they don't have that All-NBA, those kind of All-NBA stars like a LeBron, a Steph, KD, those kind of guys, which I think they'll bring in some of those guys, man. I think some of those guys will probably want to end their careers with another gold. I think Steph Curry was flirting with it, never played in the Olympics. Maybe LeBron. We'll see, obviously how another full NBA season looks. But yeah, just to recap, my 2 other teams that I think form the top 3 favorites as of this moment, with honorable mentions of Spain, Slovenia, Greece, France. But I think just on paper alone, in talent, I think Canada's lineup and Australia's lineup with all NBA rotations, I think, again, chemistry is going to be key for them. It's a different beast. 10-minute quarters, different rules. You can swat the ball off the cup. A lot more athletic, physical. The 3-point line is closer in as well. Guys got to get used to all of that stuff, which is I love. Something different. But yeah, I'm rooting for all 3 of these teams, to be honest with you. Team USA going to be good no matter what, but I look forward to Brunson succeeding and the team. I look forward to seeing RJ Barrett thrive in these group games. and get through knockout rounds. And obviously, from a home perspective, Australia, I think will hopefully look solid as well. But yeah, the group games are just going to be easing minutes and guys in, and then I think the knockout rounds is when people get down to business, um, which is going to be the most important thing. Uh, yeah, I just think with the roster coming up, I'll bring that on screen. It's just a really good blend of size, athleticism, um, and guys that are playing a role. We know Mikal Bridges is like the ultimate role player. Tyrese, and JB. You can't find two more unselfish lead guards than those two. They can take over when they have to. They can get other guys going when they have to as well. I think Anthony Edwards, Brandon Ingram, those guys know, they're going to shoulder the scoring load. Those guys are going to be able to get hot when they need to. Then you got some snipers like Cam Johnson, Jaren Jackson can stretch it, Bobby Portis as well. So for me, this is one of my more favorite non-Olympic teams. I think we know the last World Cup team was a disaster with Kemba Walker. Not throwing shade on him, but specifically Kemba Walker was in the team. Jason Tatum as well. Joe Harris as well. Right, it just wasn't nowhere near as strong as this squad, man. Yeah, rooting for RJ to look good. Could care less about the rest of the Canucks. Yeah, Canada, SGA, right? As long as he's still with OKC, I don't really care about him. You summed it up. It's all about RJ for me and us. How he looks. Dylan Brooks was the other guy. I couldn't remember his name at the minute. Yeah, Dylan Brooks on a new team. Lou Dort. Jamal Murray may not play, so that's going to be interesting. Yeah, give us your best lineup. Your best lineup is Hallie, JB, Ant, Ingram, and J, Triple J. Yeah, that's pretty good. So that's basically squeezing in Halliburton and taking out Mikal Bridges, I think, from last night's starting lineup. Yep. Yeah, that adds, basically three lead guards that can all handle, create a shot really good. Mikal Bridges can now sort of create a shot, but not as good as Ant-Man and Hallie. Yep. I just think it's going to be scary in transition. The biggest thing I saw from last night was pace and ball movement. You see Paolo Banchero, Brandon Ingram, Triple J running downhill. If Team USA rebound well, they're going to be scary. They're going to be tough to beat, basically unstoppable, I think. Look at that skip pass from Brunson. Look how quick that is. And then you got a guy that can just finish over anybody, slam it down. I think probably in typical fashion, any chance any other team has is to try to rough them up and just try to just foul the hell out of them and be physical. Be really, really, really physical. Play zone. Make them, I think probably the best chance is to make them shoot. If you can stop, guys like Banchero, Portis, Triple J from getting into the paint and just force them to shoot, that might be the best chance. With that said, other teams like Slovenia, their best chance is to just shoot the lights out. They don't have those bruisers, athletes that they can rely on. So I think they're going to rely on guys like Luka to get hot and just shoot as much as he can. The snipers for France, Nicolas Batum, Evan Fournier, and their other guys, they're local players as well, European players that can stroke it, as well as Spain. But yeah, outside of them, I think Australia and Canada are my teams to beat. What do you guys think about that? Yeah, obviously, Dirty made a great point about RJ. I went through his minutes and sort of felt, with DiVincenzo here, Hart, Grimes, what can we expect from RJ in terms of minutes? I think there's a big chance he could play more than 30 a night. Obviously, depends how the game is going, and it's going to depend on whether Tibbs plays him at the backup 4. Also, I want to really see what RJ's shape looks like in terms of physical shape, because there was some talk about people felt he was a bit heavy coming in for the foot speed, the quickness. In fact, majority of Knicks fans I've spoken to felt like RJ's playing weight would be more ideal coming down a little. He's already physically quite strong, thick, strong upper body. He kind of didn't need that extra upper body weight or strength, I felt. So let's see if RJ slims down a little bit and plays the true 3 or 2 spot, or whether he comes in at a very similar weight and are ready to play some backup 4. I think definitely later in RJ's career, I could see him being very much a small ball 4 in his career, later in his career as he gets older, like a LeBron. Purely for the fact I don't know if he's going to grow anymore. He's 6'7" already, but he, like I said, he's so strong. He could easily put on more bulk, more muscle mass, and be a scary small ball 4 coming in. Yeah, the contract situation from IQ is going to be fascinating too. How much do they think of him as the future, and whether they're going to play him next to Brunson closing out games as well? That was the second hardest minutes crunch. Keeping quickly to 20 was also difficult to envision. But like I said, DiVincenzo coming in creates this bit of crunch at the minute. I could also see Hart getting some more minutes as well. Hopefully they utilize his playmaking some with his passing game as well. But yeah, man, a lot's going to be tied to what the New York Knicks do with that 4 spot. I just keep looking at it. I stare at this and I look at Isaiah Roby and I just think, yeah, sure, they could bring him in for a regular roster spot, but not with the intention of having him permanently playing big minutes, rotation minutes, sorry. Killer says Randall's poised to have a big season, especially because it's the contract year and he doesn't have potential competition now coming off the bench. Yeah, I think we can expect a lot of the same from Randall, possibly more assist numbers going up. Also, I think he's getting the hang of his teammates, moving the ball, knowing when to move the ball when the double comes. I've seen a little bit more improvement from last season from the season prior. Yeah, however, also, we know teams' scheme and game plan against Randall. We know his game, isolation. When other teams are going to try to stop the New York Knicks, they've still got Julius Randle on their top 2 scouting report as well. Maybe even number 1, number 2 coming in. But my opinion, it's definitely Jalen Brunson. I think he's the engine. You stop him. Julius Randle can still create shots for himself. He's become pretty good at it throughout his career now. I think the 3-point shooting, a lot of it's going to be connected to his success this season. We remember that year Julius popped, especially from the 3-point line. That was a year, the opponents weren't guarding him correctly. They were sagging off. They started to D up a little harder on Julius, and then the 3-point shooting came down a bit. So I do think the 3-point shooting is going to be something big to watch. I think ball movement, Jalen Brunson's penetration, and the gravitas that he pulls is going to free up Julius more as well, and vice versa. RJ Barrett, if he comes in shooting 38% and above as well, the gravitas that's going to pull is also going to free up Julius a lot more as well. So, yeah, we praise certain players for their play going up, But we also got to take into account that makes their teammates better as well. The more respect the defense gives to you, the easier you make it for your teammates. With that said, doesn't look like the New York Knicks are going to explore any Karl Anthony Towns moves. But one argument people make is, with Mitchell Robinson, his limited offensive game, what would the New York Knicks look like with a stretch 5 one day if that happens? Having said that, Mitchell Robinson pulls gravitas above the rim as well, that a Karl Anthony Towns does not. So that's worth noting. Yeah, what's good, chat? Appreciate everyone rocking along. Off-season buzz right here. We've got the FIBA tournament coming up. Knicks off-season. At least we're seeing some New York Knicks in action, right? We're waiting for some, more news with Josh Hart probably tomorrow, and then these upcoming showcase games coming up. Evan Fournier was in action. I have not seen the result yet, but we'll follow it no doubt throughout the tournament with Evan, with RJ, Hart, and of course Brunson, and anyone else I'm missing out on. But yeah, Dirty says, I think RJ was pouting at the start of last year due to the new role. I think his bad play had to do with his weight. Yeah, I think the weight had a big factor as well for me, but I think also, yeah, the role defensively, he was relied upon a lot to be that wing stopper also and produce offensively. It's a difficult role to grasp, probably the most difficult role, to be a stopper and a scorer as well for a player that's still only 22, 23 coming into this season. Yeah, a lot's been made of the shot mechanics from RJ. Yeah, his shots never really look broken for me. It's just a case of the kind of looks he's getting, shoot with confidence. Let's see, right? We've seen so many great shooters in the league come and go that started bad as a shooter and then became a solid 3-point shooter as well. A guy like a Jason Kidd, Steve Nash come to mind as well. There's been times when RJ Barrett's got hot, but he's basically he's streaky. One thing I do that stands out in RJ's jump shot for me is the actual jump. He doesn't have a lot of pop off the floor. He uses a lot of the arm, the wrist, the shoulders movement as well. Where I compare that to a real jump shot, like a shooting guard's jump shot. I mean, in terms of Quentin Grimes, he gets clear elevation off the floor. I think when I see Quentin Grimes jump up, his toes or his feet look like they're about that much off the floor. When RJ Barrett jumps off, it's more of a little pop. Now, that's probably attributed to he's bigger, he's stronger in the shoulders and the arms, so he could get more elevation there. And also he's 6'7", so he's taller, he's closer to the rim. He may not need, to jump up as high. But that's something that really stands out to me. RJ Barrett really just pops off the floor, off his toes. Whereas I really notice a guy like, Quentin Grimes, who has, a jump shot similar to Allen Houston, actually jump a lot higher off the floor. Yeah, appreciate you for this note, Killer. Paul George could have been a guy who started bad as well. I forget, but I just remember, he popped off crazy with Indiana out of nowhere. There was a moment where Danny Granger was the man in Indiana. Then basically in a 1-month span, like Paul George became the man. That was something I'll never forget. That was crazy times as well with Indiana, with Paul George coming up. Yeah, it's probably the reason why, like you said, he just popped as a shooter as well. He grew as a man too. Remember some of these guys, they're young men, but they're kind of like boys among men, and then they become a man, with a blink of an eye, basically, and they start to dominate the league. Dirty says it's funny that as bad as RJ seems as a shooter, he's still barely below average for his career from three. Yeah, I think a lot of I've made this point a lot of times, and I haven't heard it a lot mentioned, but um, we also can evaluate RJ in terms of his fit on this team a lot too. I think floor spacing has been an issue for us, and um, now we've finally got a Quentin Grimes. But if you remember, kind of like 2, 3, 4 years ago, the New York Knicks were known as basically we barely had anyone that was known as a plus shooter that could space the floor a little. Um, RJ Barrett on a team with more floor spacing, you know, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, Jalen Brunson in the paint do clog things up a little. So yeah, let's see how he looks with Team Canada. I think that's going to be something really positive to see in terms of they've got guys that can stretch the floor. Um, was it Dwight Powell, Kelly Olynyk, um, 4 and 5s that can actually shoot. That's good for the FIBA game. That's going to allow Bully Barrett to bully his way to the cup and finish strong. Um, One thing I noticed RJ Barrett improve as well is foul shooting from the free throw line. 2 years ago, it looked concerning. Last season, it looked solid. Um, Not exactly sure what the numbers are, but I just remember over the course of the season, when he went to the line, I felt like it was pretty solid. I think it was probably maybe around the 75, late 70s, um, possibly. Um, but yeah, another opportunity for him to play with talented players like SGA and Murray and some shooters coming in. So yeah, so that's another point to make. Yeah, and I don't know if Barrett could ever reach his true ceiling with the New York Knicks in terms of playing with Randle and Brunson, just because of their play styles. Three lefties, um, and all of that. But he could still be damn good, that's for sure. I mentioned a lot's tied to Julius Randle's 3-point shooting. That's because that's going to, pull a defender up on Julius more. Let's say if Julius comes out shooting poor from three, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but let's say, Julius struggles a little bit. What do you think the defense is going to do? They read the scouting report. They're going to sag off. And then it's going to be more difficult for a player like RJ to get to the cup because, the paint's going to be congested as well. So that's one thing to watch out for. Obviously, Quentin Grimes and Jalen Brunson pull a lot of defensive attention to them at the 3-point line. So I'm not too worried at all about our spacing. I think, but Quentin Grimes is vital to that. We're seeing what it looked like. You sub in a Josh Hart for Quentin Grimes, and you see our floor spacing go down by the wayside, as we saw against the Miami Heat. Uh, but now we don't have that problem really with options, with DiVincenzo, with Quickly. Be hopefully Tibbs is flexible with that. Yeah, Trini, the jump shot falls with Canada will probably translate to the upcoming season. Hmm. I wonder how many tweaks he's done and changes because, yeah, hey, if it works out, I'm loving it. But one thing I'm concerned about is a young player changing their mechanics, or maybe not mechanics, but changing things too frequently. Um, Now, obviously, when you do change something, the off season is the time to do it. There's no doubt about it. You got time to practice, put up reps, and see how it looks. Obviously, FIBA is a great showcase. That's what I'm looking at it. This is it's a showcase. You know, I mean, probably most of us watching, we're not on Team Canada's bus. We want RJ to do well, but we couldn't care less if Canada wins or not. Um, some of us may not care if Team USA wins. Some of us may, but we want our guys to look good, and we want them to showcase what they can do, and what they've worked on. And we want the world to see as well. We get to see RJ in action. all the time. We know what he's capable of. We sometimes, the outside world, the media, they sometimes don't see what this guy can do. He can, start to create his shot more often now efficiently and finish at the cup efficiently as well. But I feel like RJ Barrett still has that strong label from 2 years ago where he struggles a lot finishing, whereas I have seen some improvement. It's defensively that was something I wasn't expecting last season. But like Dirty said, it was a role that he needed to adjust with and also, um, you know, become good at, being stopping elite wings. Sometimes on some nights he had a size disadvantage. He had to overcome that and also put up 19 points on efficiency. Playing next to a guy like a Randall who's high usage. Um, we know Barrett's got good chemistry with Mitch. I shout out Barrett for often finding Mitch. He looks for Mitch on those lobs. Um, those guys been together basically since day dot. I think Mitchell Robinson was here 1 year before RJ. Is it? I think yeah. Mitchell Robinson's the longest tenured guy. I think coming in. I think Mitch is into his 5th year, if I'm not correct. 5th or 6th year. Barrett coming into his 5th year as well. Maybe the same year they were. But yeah, those two got chemistry, which is good. Good to see. I felt Brunson and Randall had pretty good chemistry for their first year together as well. Let's say that chemistry goes up a notch. The two-man game, understanding where each other is on the floor at any point in the game is key. Kind of the way like Wade and LeBron played together. They just knew without even looking where each other was on the floor. The kind of synergy that a Brunson and Randall got to have, because yeah, those guys need to make sure they're connected in more ways than one, in terms of spacing the floor, getting out of each other's way, but also finding each other, especially late in the shot clock. Yeah, man, Fournier, talk about he could be at the top of terms of showcase. You know what I mean? I mean, don't get me wrong. We want RJ Barrett, Brunson, and Hart to showcase, but we want Evan Fournier to showcase. Facts. With that said, I don't think Fournier is going to look too different. I think he is what he is, and I think the league knows what he is. He's just got to do it. He's just got to show that he can still do it, so that GMs and front offices say, hey, he's an expiring salary. The New York Knicks are basically giving him away. We'll take him, and we'll give you, second round pick, and we'll give you the expiring money back, or we'll give you something. One thing I did mention to, I was on some San Antonio podcasts in the comments, and I was just, getting a feel for their thoughts on how they would feel about getting Evan, and I would said, Evan for Doug McDermott and a second round pick to us, and no one kind of pushed back on me in terms of that fan base. So, I don't know how the majority feel about it, but if you're a San Antonio Spur fan, you don't have any use for Doug McDermott. How do you value a second round pick? You might value Evan Fournier. He can be a good guy for Vic, help him out. In his rookie season, I think it's a win-win. Yeah, it's more than likely this too. In terms of not Fournier the talent, but Fournier the expiring contract and the veteran mentor for Wemby. Like I mentioned, he's a solid end of the bench kind of guy. Who maybe in a playoff run could be good to have around. Situationally. I tell you that I am kind of fascinated to see how much his game has really fallen off. We know he wasn't effective for the Knicks. Tibbs made the right decision, taking Fournier out. But for Team France, I'm still curious to see whether Evan can move, can still shoot, and pray, hope to God that someone can give us something beneficial. Otherwise, we know what it is. We'll just keep him, maybe waive him at the trade deadline or something. Maybe he just sits out. I know he's going to be frustrated, but if he plays FIBA a lot, he knows that his time's ticking in New York and he just has to sit out for half a season. Maybe he's going to be okay with that. He can get with a trainer, work out. Salute. What's good, Sharp Powers? Salute. How we feeling? Yeah, talking about the Knicks continuity coming in without a player in the top 50 in salaries, though, but a squad that's competitive of getting a top 4 spot again. 50 wins is the target. Jalen Brunson, our point guard, is the leader of Team USA. There's a lot to feel good about heading into this season, right? The continuity is not going to win the headlines, the back pages. But what will is internal development, internal progression from guys like Quickly, Barrett, Grimes as well. I'm expecting more of the same from everyone else, right? It would be a little on the optimistic side to feel like Brunson, Randall, Josh Hart, Mitch are going to come in looking, worlds better than what they did last season, because they had a great season. But I won't be shocked if Barrett, Grimes quickly come in looking worlds better than what they were as well. So I feel like there's a clear step that those guys can take to improve this team as well. I could even throw Isaiah Hartenstein in there because, remember he looked trash for a good 20 to 30 games of the season. He was dealing with the Achilles injury. The fan base was like, what have we done? This guy's trash. And then he came good. So he's clearly got talent. It was clear that it was the injury that was hurting Isaiah. So let's say Isaiah comes in out of the gate looking great. That's going to be big. Now, who would I like for us if we were going to get a guy for the 4 spot? Who would I like us to get that's attainable, realistic, a guy who can shoot? I think another stretch 4 would be excellent for this team. One skill set I'm high on for Roby is his shooting, is his ability to just spot up, just be a stretch 4, for 10 minutes a night. I'm not ruling that out, but I think Tibbs and the Knicks still would prefer, a guy who's a veteran. I feel like. So, yeah. With that said, a lot to look forward to. We'll continue to break down the FIBA tournament. Team USA coming in, looking great. There's a lot to feel good about with our New York Knicks, having big seasons coming up, and a big tournament with the World Cup coming up. But yeah, Team USA look great. My takeaway was that they're a squad. They're a good squad in terms of a whole. They're not top heavy, but they've got young guys that are part of the future of Team USA, and they're also got a lot of guys that know their role and are big on upside. But they are going to face some challenges. Like I said, Canada, I think Australia, France, Spain, Slovenia, Greece. You could throw those teams also in the mix. Yeah, shout out to Replay Gang. Shout out to the chat. Again, Knicks Nation. We'll continue to churn out big off-season content. Hopefully got another show later in the week with a guest lined up to talk more about the Knicks and the top stories, the top headlines coming in for this season for the New York Knicks. The odds, the overs and unders. The betting market down where I'm at has the New York Knicks overs unders set at 44.5. So I'm about to take that. I'm about to take the over 45 and above. I think it's pretty straightforward. That's my betting market locally. Vegas, I think, has the New York Knicks right around that 45 also. But yeah, let's go for it. Let's get it. The next one. Peace, blessings to everyone out here. Right, orange and blue skies. And yeah, Jalen Brunson looking good, running Team USA. And let's see for this Josh Hart extension, and we'll chop it up if and when that happens tomorrow. But peace.